Lights, camera, dissect. Welcome back to Midnight Reel Reviews.
Today is the day she is released from prison, but the warden, Javert, deliberately makes it difficult. She must lift an impossibly heavy mast. Only then will her last day's work be complete. It's a near impossible task, but fortunately, she has immense strength. With determination, she grits her teeth and hoists the mast, inch by inch, until she reaches Javert. She believes she's finally earned her freedom. But when Javert hands over her release papers, he sternly warns her to report regularly to the local police station. Fail, and she'll be arrested again. This mark of shame will follow her for life. Hearing this, she feels both anger and injustice. Her name is Jean Valjean. 19 years ago, she stole a loaf of bread to feed her starving nephew and was sentenced to prison. She served 19 years behind bars. Now, even after release, she can't escape her fate. Such an unjust law, a law that defies reason. But for Javert, the law is the ultimate truth. As she leaves, Javert warns her again to obey the law, reminding her he'll be watching. Resentful, Valjean takes the paper and walks away, but because of that paper, she faces discrimination everywhere. No one will hire her. Children mock and taunt her in the streets. Cold and starving, she has nowhere to go and sleeps on the church steps. But soon, a kind priest wakes her, offering food and warmth. Still hardened by suffering, Valjean doubts the priest's kindness, thinking he must have ulterior motives. That night, she steals the church's silverware and flees, but is quickly caught and returned. To her surprise, the priest doesn't accuse her. Instead, he gives her 2 silver candlesticks, saying, "You forgot these." Stunned, Valjean accepts them. The police drop the charges. After they leave, the priest gently says, "Perhaps this is God's plan. Forget your past pain. Use this chance to become good, honest, and let God guide you out of darkness. May my actions save your soul." Valjean is moved, kneeling in reflection. Overwhelmed, she begins to repent, vowing to turn her life around. After 20 years of suffering and humiliation, the priest's compassion softens her heart. In tears, she resolves to tear up her parole papers and live with a new identity. 8 years later, in 1823, under an oppressive monarchy, the poor drown in misery, and the streets of Paris are filled with beggars. Valjean, now Madeleine, has rebuilt her life with the silver and is now the mayor of Montreuil-sur-Mer, running a textile factory. One day, the former warden Javert is transferred to work under her. Watching him pledge loyalty, Valjean feels uneasy, but fortunately, she's changed so much that Javert doesn't recognize her. Then, disaster strikes. An overturned cart traps an old man beneath it. Without hesitation, Valjean uses all her strength to lift the cart and save him. This scene seems eerily familiar to Javert, and suspicion grows in his mind. In the original novel, Javert relentlessly pursues Valjean. To support her daughter, he had to leave her in a hotel, trusting others to care for her while he worked hard. Every month he sent money back home. But as the saying goes, no wall is without cracks. One of his jealous co-workers learned of his arrangement, stirring up chaos in the factory. With so much on his plate, Erlong entrusted the matter to his assistant. However, the assistant, who had long admired Fang Ting but had been rejected time and time again, now discovered she had a child. Mocking her, he drove her away, leaving her without a job and in desperation. With nowhere else to turn, Fang Ting reluctantly sold herself on the black market. The black market boss, persuading her, convinced her to first sell her long hair, then her 2 front teeth. Eventually, she became a street prostitute. One night, one of her clients tried to force himself on her, and in the struggle, he scratched her face. Anyone who learned of her ordeal felt deep sympathy for her and helped her receive medical treatment. Shortly after, a letter arrived from headquarters stating that the fugitive Erlong had been caught and would face a public trial the next day. It turned out she had wronged the mayor, and she rushed to apologize. To her surprise, the mayor didn't blame her. Instead, he told her to return to work without worry. But the mayor was torn. If she stayed silent, her conscience would haunt her. She couldn't allow an innocent person to take the fall for her. But if she confessed, all her years of effort would be wasted, and hundreds of workers would lose their jobs. After a sleepless night of inner turmoil, her conscience won out. She rushed to the court that night and confessed publicly. But the judges couldn't believe this well-dressed mayor was the fugitive. In desperation, she said, "If you don't believe me, let the sheriff come to the hospital for confrontation," and quickly left the courtroom. The one thing she could not leave behind was her daughter, Cosette. On her deathbed, she entrusted Cosette to the mayor, who promised to take care of her. With a peaceful sigh, Fang Ting passed away, leaving behind the tragic events. Meanwhile, Sheriff Shai, who had received the news, rushed to the hospital and blocked the mayor's path. The mayor begged him for mercy, promising she would turn herself in after ensuring Cosette was safe. But Shai, filled with anger, refused. He accused her of using Cosette as an excuse to escape. After a struggle, the mayor managed to leap into the water. Cosette, left at a small hotel, was cruelly mistreated by the owners. They treated their own daughter as a treasure, but ordered Cosette around like a servant. One night, they sent her alone to fetch water from the forest. It was then the mayor found her weak and frail. Without hesitation, she took Cosette back with her, confronted the hotel owners, paid them a large sum, and gave Cosette a doll. "From now on, I'm your father, and you are my daughter," the mayor promised. "I'll take care of you forever." And with that, they left the hotel together in a carriage. As Cosette lay in the mayor's arms, an unfamiliar feeling began to grow inside her, a sense of being truly needed. All the suffering she had endured seemed insignificant now. Her world, once shrouded in darkness, was now filled with hope and light. Just as they were about to leave the city, the mayor set up a checkpoint at the city gates. But before they could pass, the mayor quickly fled with Cosette in a carriage, seeking refuge from an elderly man outside a church. To their surprise, the elderly man recognized them immediately. It was the same person the mayor had helped some time ago when he had saved him from under a carriage. Without saying a word, the elderly man helped them hide, successfully evading Shai's pursuit. Shai vowed to capture the mayor and bring him to justice. By 1832, France's class struggles had worsened, with commoners suffering in poverty while the nobility lived in luxury. Anger reached a boiling point, sparking a street revolt. The brave and charismatic nobleman Marius defied his family to join the rebels, earning the people's trust and leading their fight for change. Marius saw the mayor with Cosette, now a beautiful young woman. Their eyes met, and a silent love blossomed, despite their social differences. Meanwhile, the deceitful innkeepers, now homeless, recognized Jean Valjean and sought to exploit his past. Aware of the danger, Valjean couldn't risk exposure. As Inspector Javert appeared, chaos ensued, and Valjean seized the moment to escape with Cosette, ensuring their safety amid the turmoil. Marius, desperate to find Cosette, searched frantically. He came across a woman named Eponine who lived near the inn and asked for her help in finding Cosette's whereabouts. Unbeknownst to Marius, Eponine had feelings for him too. Watching him plead, she reluctantly agreed to help. That night, while the revolutionary forces gathered to discuss the upcoming uprising, Marius's mind was consumed with thoughts of Cosette. Eponine revealed Cosette's address to Marius, who rushed to find her. Cosette, always on the run with Jean Valjean, questioned their constant moves, but he gave no answers. After an argument, Cosette went for a walk alone just as Marius arrived. Overjoyed, the lovers exchanged their feelings through the fence, unable to part. Watching silently, Eponine's heart shattered. Though happy for Marius, she mourned her unrequited love. Danger was closing in. Eponine's father, now working for Javert, arrived with a group to capture them. He ordered Eponine to stop the lovers, but she failed and was slapped. In desperation, she cried out, warning Valjean. Hearing her, Valjean quickly took Cosette and fled. Before leaving, Cosette left Marius a letter with her address, hoping for an escape together. But Eponine, torn by emotions, took the letter and, after much inner turmoil, decided to hide it away. Marius, heartbroken and unable to find Cosette, sank into despair. When morning came, gunfire echoed as the revolutionaries clashed with royalist troops. Despite their fierce resistance, the revolutionaries had to retreat. The people threw furniture from their windows to block the royalists. A royalist, disguised as a civilian, was thrown out by a child, captured, and executed by the people. Valjean sees Javert in a pitiful state and asks the soldiers to hand him over. Dragging him behind, Valjean believes this will end everything, but Javert lets him go, saying, "Even if you let me go today, I won't show mercy in the future." Valjean replies, "You're wrong. You were just doing your duty." Amid the 1832 Paris uprising, Valjean drags Marius into the sewers as the revolutionaries fall. Javert arrives, sees the open sewer lid, and understands. Valjean passes him without being shot. Later, Javert, feeling betrayed, ends his life in the Seine. Marius, questioning the bloodshed, is comforted by Cosette. As they marry, Valjean leaves them in peace, entrusting Cosette to Marius and Cosette's happiness. As he dies, Marius and Cosette kneel beside him, and Valjean urges them to always love each other. Jean Valjean's life, a story of suffering and redemption, is forever linked to France's revolutionary history. Les Misérables, an epic of human suffering, continues to resonate through its unforgettable music. Thank you for joining me. See you next time.
Your VIP seat awaits. Subscribe now, and let's relive every movie moment together.